One of the things I've seen in the Battle for Azeroth beta that I've really been impressed by is the city of Boralus. They seem to have put a lot of work into making this city feel more real and lived in than your standard WoW hub town, so I wanted to compare it to a city that I felt immersed in Legion, Suramar City, and see how it compares to that. Now, I was quite a big fan of Suramar City in Legion. Admittedly, I am a little bit biased because I like the colour purple and the entire atmosphere of the city was very purple. But also, I don't know if it was actually bigger than other cities in WoW or not, but they definitely made me feel like it was huge while I was walking through its streets, which in my opinion is one of the most important parts of really selling a city in a video game. Whether or not it actually is big is less important to me than making the player feel the sense of scale. Though also for a city in WoW, I'm pretty sure it is kind of big. Another important part is what they put into the city, and in Suramar City more than ever before they put lots of flavour into the scenery and the theming. Everything reflects the culture of magic usage, which is what the Nightborn are all about. And there are NPCs going about their business like they belong here, like they actually live here rather than just being clearly placed in the game for the player to interact with. Exploring the city for the first time for me felt wonderful and magical, and I was more immersed in this than any other experience in the game, I think. And as much as I remember loving Suramar City, Boralus completely blows it out of the water in every way that I've mentioned so far. Boralus has citizens going about their day-to-day lives everywhere. Every tavern is full of people reveling, the markets have workers working and people buying goods rather than just the player-facing vendors. In the poorer parts of the city you'll find all kinds of labourers are labouring, and dock workers on their time off drinking and socialising. There are shady characters in the back alleys and tentacle-loving cultists trying to convert people to their tentacly cause. Also, you can find some cute little scenes like this auction here, and this public execution, along with a bunch of other stuff that I'll let you find when you go there yourself. In the more well-off parts of the city, you'll find all kinds of upper-class establishments and their patrons, such as people reading in the tavern to prove that they know how to read, and are therefore better than their poorer counterparts. We've got fancy lounge areas, only for fancy people of course, and this fancy shop with fancy mermaid silverware, and teddy bears? Anyway, we also have a lot of really nice looking outdoor bars with nobles drinking at the tables and some well tended gardens, and of course, tentacle themed architecture wherever you go. They really love tentacles. Again, there's more here that I'll leave out for now, because at least in my opinion, exploring these places yourself and finding the little hidden stuff is quite fun. Anyway, almost everything in Boralus really feels like it belongs here, like it has a purpose within the world outside of just something the player can interact with. Never has a city in World of Warcraft felt quite as realistic to me as Boralus does, which admittedly is probably helped by the British accents making me feel right at home. Another thing which I think really helps is the new Cultiran human models. In real life, humans come in a lot more shapes and sizes than just the one that we've been living with so far. And although we do only have 3 sizes here, it's at least some variety in the NPCs that you'll see around the city, which I really like. And the Cultiran children are far less terrifying than their Stormwind counterparts.
Do you have scurvy?
But of course, they wouldn't really be video game children if they weren't at least a bit unsettling. So yes, I am a little bit in love with Boralus, and my plan here was to compare Boralus to Suramar City based on what I've talked about so far, and leave it there. However, when I was walking through Suramar, I wasn't getting the same feeling that I did before. At first, I thought maybe it was because the skybox was more orange than it was before, but I think the real reason it didn't feel the same is because I'm ignoring a big aspect of Suramar City that you experience on your first visit, which is the story. I think it's the story of Suramar City when combined with the visuals that really sold it to me when I first got there in the first few weeks of Legion. Before you get to the city itself, the Lycerus sets up the backstory of the place, the Legion has pretty much taken over, the leadership has accepted it, and the people need your help to fight back. It's a pretty compelling reason for us to help, given that the whole point of this expansion was to fight the Legion. When you get your disguise and go into the city proper, your first quest there has you working with the leaders of the resistance within the city, helping the struggling citizens. The government is intentionally cutting supply of the Arcwine that they depend on to keep their magic addiction in check, in order to keep them weak and unable to fight back. This gives us a direct insight into the oppression that these people are facing under the new Legion regime, and even more reason to want to help the resistance overthrow Elisand and the demons.
Suramar, our haven, our sanctuary, our prison. Elisand and the Legion seek to bring us to heel, through fear, through hunger. The flame of the Shal'dorei flickers. We must reignite it. We must stir the noble hearts of my people. You must show them that Azeroth has not forsaken them.
I don't know about you guys, but at this point I was kind of invested, and I had a good time going through the next set of quests where you're helping out the citizens. I know a lot of people weren't fans of the whole stealth gameplay thing, but as a rogue, I loved that stuff. It felt very in character for my rogue, sneaking around, taking out important targets, doing some espionage here and there, and it gave me a feeling which is quite rare in WoW questing. The feeling that I was undercover in a place that was hostile to me and too dangerous for me to just kill everything there. It's hard to take too seriously the importance of the events that happen in a lot of questing areas because you can just run in and kill everything, like there's no threat to you. So how could it possibly be a threat for your faction or life on Azeroth as a whole? It also helped that I always had Vanish available as a backup in case any of the guards figured out that something wasn't quite right or wondered what I was hiding. A personal favourite point for me was the Vineyard Tour.
You can purchase souvenirs and gifts from Silverin, my assistant. Perhaps you could do that on your way out.
I don't know if I have anything objective to say about how it contributed to the feeling of immersion within the city, but for me personally, I think it gave me a really nice insight into various parts of the culture in Suramar City, and the Arcwine, which was such a large plot point of the area. And also a big well done to the voice actress of Margot, I think she did a great job. So with this in mind, how does Boralus compare now? Well, if I'm honest, it's hard to be entirely sure right now since most of the cutscenes aren't in the beta, and so far I've only done the intro questline and a small amount of the Tiragard sound questline involving Lady Ashvane, since I do want to keep most of the content fresh for me when the expansion's released. But so far what I've seen I have liked. I'm going to quickly go through what you do in the intro questline, so if you don't want any spoilers at all, skip to the time on screen. But they definitely aren't big spoilers, this is just the questline that introduces you to the city and the area. The opening quest has you and Jaina rocking up into Boralus requesting a meeting with Jaina's mum, who is very cool by the way, and Jaina being turned away by Admiral Catherine as she is considered a traitor to Kultiris. You're taken to jail and you meet Flynn, who's an interesting character that helps you break out and introduces you to Talia. She shows you around the city, giving you some flavour and some stories about the areas, and introduces you to Cyrus, an old knight who lets you in on the fact that Kultiris is having some real issues, and they need the Alliance's help just as much as we need them. Then you're briefly told about the different leveling zones and get to choose where to go next. Although the premise of trying to bring Kultiris into the Alliance isn't quite as life or death as the issues in Suramar, I think it's still quite a compelling reason to care about your journey here. The high point for me is the characters and the dialogue, definitely. Within minutes of meeting these characters, they made me like them, and the dialogue for each character was full of personality the whole way through. Again, I don't know what happens after this, maybe the story gets worse and becomes just a vessel for the quests. Maybe it gets even better. I'll find out when the expansion comes out. Now, I'm sorry that this means I can't give a concrete answer on which city is better, but if I had to choose based on what I know at this moment, I'd definitely choose Boralus. Aesthetically, with all the items and citizens all over the place, I think it's great. It looks very much like an actual real place for a city in World of Warcraft at least. And that's even while being a hub city that actually has to have all the hub functions for players to use, a challenge that Suramar didn't have. As for the story, as much as I enjoyed Suramar, what I've seen of the Boralus storyline has got me just as excited to see what happens next as I was back in Legion doing my weekly gated Suramar questline. Boralus wins, and I look forward to spending the next few years AFK in its streets. Thanks for watching the video. I'm working on some videos right now that have been taking a long time to get the footage for, so I'm releasing this and a few other videos in the interim, which are quicker to make. Up next will probably be some videos talking about rogues in Battle for Azeroth, and a look back at how they changed throughout Legion. Then after that, I may have these bigger videos ready, the first of which is the history of Sylvanas Windrunner, probably followed by videos looking at the backstories for Jaina and Anduin, and other big Battle for Azeroth lore characters. If you want to see those when they're uploaded, make sure to subscribe, and if there are any other lore characters you'd like to see history videos for, let me know in the comments. I'm open to suggestions. See you in the next video.